History of Perro de Presa Canario by Castle of Presa. Shout out to them. I'm pretty sure they're Presa Kennel. They had some great information on the article about the Presa Canario history. So definitely want to give them their credit for this article. So the history of the Perro de Presa Canario. The Presa is a molosser type of dog which originated on the Canary Islands of Tenerife and Gran Canaria in the Canary Archipelago. The Canary Islands were actually named after the dog, not a famous bird. In fact, the word cane or canay gave rise to the island's name. These dogs were widely spread on the territory of the Canary Islands before the Spanish settled there. The islands were referred to as the Islands of the Dogs. Around the 18th century, the English colonists, traders, and merchants brought their band dogs and tie dogs to the Canary Islands. Shortly thereafter, the English introduced their favorite breeds of bull terriers, bulldogs, and mastiffs, and began crossbreeding with the existing Perro de Presa Canario of the Canary Islands. The Presa Canario was developed by farmers in the Canary Islands to serve as a guard dog to guard their homes, farms, livestock, and to subdue the cattle for the butchers. They were later used for dog fights along with the other breeds until the 1940s when dog fights were prohibited. So a lot of these mastiff breeds back then were really like utility dogs, farm dogs. English Mastiff at one point was used for everything this article just stated about the Presa Canario. A Cane Corso. They're real similar between the two when it comes to breeding in things to perform the function of what they're asked of to the best of their ability with that crossing. Consequently, the Perro de Presa Canario decreased greatly in numbers. Just a few Presa dogs were still used by the farmers as guard dogs and to catch as well as hold the cattle. They were also used to subdue any stray dogs or predators that may have came onto the farmland trying to kill livestock or things of that nature. But a lot of different breeds did die out because of dog fighting, or some, like I recently learned about the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry. The Cordoba fighting dog. So it really was like a grandfather to the Dogo Argentino, but the Dogo Argentino was a well-modified version of the Cordoba fighting dog, which really was which was then the Dogo was bred to be the ultimate hunting dog, which a lot of people think they were bred to be the ultimate fighting dog, which is incorrect. And they aren't supposed to really be animal aggressive, but that's for another video and another time. Reconstruction of the breed began in the early 1970s by various aficionados who sought to preserve the heritage of the Presa Canario. Throughout the next decade, breeders began searching for what they believed were the most traditional examples of the Presa Canario in temperament, courage, guard, instinct, and other aspects. These breeds may have included the Bull Terrier, the American Staffordshire Terrier, the Great Dane, the Neapolitan Mastiff, the Fila Brasileiro, the American Bulldog, the English Bulldog, the Bull Mastiff, the Spanish Mastiff, the Doberman, the Dogo de Bordeaux, the Spanish Alano, and the Perro de Ganado Majorero, which actually a lot of people say makes a Presa Canario. If you don't have the Bardino Majorero in the Presa's bloodline somewhere, or the pedigree, or whatever you like to say, then it's not a real Presa Canario, because that is what adds the fire and the intensity to the Presa Canario, which is what the extinct Perro de Presa Canario was bred with originally. And then all those dogs I just spoke of were bred to the Bardino Majorero, which still kept that intensity of the Presa Canario. Clearly, the gene pool for the modern Presa Canario is quite extensive and can still produce atypical specimens of the nascent breed. After crossbreeding and breeding to the true standard, and there's still some variation in phenotype today, but getting something close and temperament-wise to the Presa Canario was the goal. And once that standard was set, the first few Presas were imported to the U.S. in the late 1980s. Their popularity was on the rise. Dog fanciers were anxious to own and show this rare dog breed. Nevertheless, AKC registers the Presa Canario only under the FSS program, which the person that made this article states is useless for Presa owners, which I'm not too well versed on, which I might have to talk to somebody about this and get their opinion and thoughts on this. It says, fortunately, other American Presa Canario clubs are founded. Now you can register your Presa with UKC or UPPCC. If you live in Europe, to register your Presa with FCI, you need to change its original name to Dogo Canario. According to FCI standards, your Dogo will not be allowed to have a black coat or the traditional white markings on their belly, chest, and feet. Also, cropping their ears is illegal in Europe. What is the difference between a Presa Canario and a Dogo Canario? The word Presa can translate to gripper. The Tenerife club Espinal del Dogo Canario, C.D.C., did not feel comfortable with the name gripper, so they changed it to Dogo. In 2001, to make it politically correct, they concentrated more on the show look to satisfy the judges than on performance and working abilities, which is a problem, I think, with a lot of federations and has had its strike on a lot of different breeds. But like I said, it's another episode for another time. Federation Cenologic International, I might have said that wrong. Also known as the FCI, is an international kennel club with 84 member countries, which are mainly in Europe, and it is based in Belgium. In 2001, the FCI, aided by the C.D.C., officially declared and recognized the Perro de Presa Canario as a Dogo Canario, eliminating the black coat, traditional markings, and maximum weight limitation. The FCI changed the unlimited weight of the Dogo Canario to the original standards of the Presa Canario after almost 15 years, approximately 2015 to 2016. The change from Presa to Dogo was an insult to many traditional Presa breeders in the Canary Islands because they felt that the Presa dogs have always been a large part of the heritage and always referred to them as Presa. This is still I think it still has some controversy behind it today. And some people believe there's Dogo and Presa. I'm not well versed in this argument, so comment down below and let me know what you think, and give me an insight on it. This article is a little older, so it says the FCI is getting closer to the acceptance of the Presa Canario. As of December 2018, January 2019, the FCI reverted back to Presa because there are still several Canary Island breeders who do not accept the change and breed real Presa based on the old Bardino Mahuero bloodline. Bardino is an original Canary Island dog, which I stated before is what makes the Presa a Presa. And I did do my research just quickly, and the FCI does recognize the Presa, but as a Dogo Canario, I guess. So they do what they recognize a Presa dog. And here it says the Bardino played a major role in the creation of the Presa Canario, as well as the recreation or the reconstruction, whichever one you would like to call it. With original appearance, original temperament, and register their Presa with U.S. clubs such as UPPCC as Presa Canario. Within the Presa, there's a lot of different typage or different phenotypes. Like these are older pictures, but this looks more like a bulldog influence on this dog, which is said to be a Presa. I couldn't get a lot of pictures of all the different phenotypes because it varies, and not everything is on Google for me to just grab right quick. You know what I mean? And then supposedly this was a Presa. This was a Presa as well from the picture and the article with it. But the Presa's size ranged. I think there was the ones that were more agile, like the cattle dogs. Of course, they were used for fighting, and those looked more like a pit bull, American pit bull terrier, and only got to like 80 to, I think, 100 pounds. And then you have your heavier ones, I think more the guard dog ones. They'd get to the 130, 140. And then there's really the Mastiff type. Most of the Mastiff type looks like a Neapolitan Mastiff with some Presa tendencies or traits to it. there's really a lot of variation within most of these breeds. Mainly the Molossers, the Masters. I mean, you have the Presa, the Corso. What else? There's some I went over. I can't even remember. The Borbal, of course. Then there's different types within the breeds, but most of them were bred for the same things, like the Presa, cattle, dispatching of dogs that might shouldn't be on the farm. And I was going to show some historic pictures of these dogs matching or going up against each other, which they weren't. Was no blood or anything like that. But you know how YouTube is; they don't like that stuff, so I wouldn't put it on here. But yeah, this was another episode of Catch All Concepts. Another learning session, another study session. Went over a great article. Uh, comment down below, tell me what you think, some things you want to see, and we'll get into it. Thank you, and let's continue to better our minds and dogs, people.